Welcome to another segment of Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. Today, our guest is Assemblywoman Vanessa Gibson from the Bronx. Assemblywoman, welcome to Reaching Out.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming. The people you represent in the 7th District, Claremont, Highbridge, Mount Eden, and Morris Heights sections of the Bronx.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the district that you represent.
Well, the district I represent, which I was so blessed to be elected on June 2nd, 2009, and it's a wonderful, very unique district of diverse cultures, languages, nationalities, and it's a population of 129,000, and they're seniors, they're young people, working families, many long-term residents of the Bronx that have lived there for well over 20 and 30 years. They have raised generations of children, and they remain in the Bronx. It is a community of open space, of parks, of buildings, of homeowners, of a museum. I have a hospital. I have a number of different schools and houses of worship. It's a beautiful community because I think it speaks to the character of the neighborhood, that when you stay in the Bronx and you live through some of the greatest challenges and you remain in the Bronx, you can see how the Bronx has made such a major progression.
Now, where's the hospital that's in your district?
Bronx Lebanon Hospital,
Bronx
the main
Lebanon.
building.
Okay, that's on the Grand Concourse?
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell us about your background. You seem kind of young to be an assemblywoman. How did you become assemblywoman?
I am. Thank you for the compliment. I'm one of the youngest elected officials in the state legislature, one of the youngest women and women of color. I was elected June 2nd, 2009, but prior to that, I worked for my predecessor, Aurelia Green. She served in this assembly district for 27 years, and I started out as an intern in the intern program in the New York State Assembly when I was in my last year of college at the University at Albany, SUNY Albany. And I did the internship for a semester. When I graduated, she decided to hire me. And at the time, I wanted to be a lawyer like many of my friends. And I looked at public service as not really a career, but it was something to do at the time. But through my internship, I had a lot of experience and working with elected officials and the governor and many high-powered officials, and I felt really important. And I think it was the time when I really developed a lot of my strengths and a passion that ultimately came for me in public service. And Aurelia Green decided to hire me as I graduated, and I became her legislative aide. I worked on a number of legislative issues. She was the chair of the banking committee at the time, so we worked with the mortgage brokers. We did a lot of work on predatory lending, the foreclosure, a lot of issues with that. We work with banks, we work with credit unions, and I worked with her for a number of years in Albany until a position became available in her district office in the Bronx. And I moved to the Bronx and I became her office manager. And the first challenge, I tell everyone, I was the youngest person on staff and I was the supervisor in charge. So my responsibility was to learn the district, learn the character, the people, who we were serving, because serving in district offices compared to the Albany office is a completely different environment. And I found it to be great working with people of all different backgrounds, many challenges, a lot of work, but certainly it was definitely rewarding. And I worked for her right up until the point when she was asked by Ruben Diaz Jr., who was also an assemblyman, but decided to run for Bronx Borough President in April of 2009. And both Ruben and Aurelia resigned at the same time, and they assumed their position at Borough Hall. And I was asked by her, and I was very, very surprised. And she looked and said, "Would you like to consider running for my seat?" And I was very, very surprised. I prayed on it. I really didn't see myself in a leadership position. I was a behind-the-scenes person, and I made sure that I knew, what was going on in the district. I was her eyes and ears, and now I'm stepping up into the role of a leader, the assembly member. That was a challenge, and I accepted it, and I ran for office. I was successful, and I was also finishing my master's degree at the same time at Baruch College, so that was an even more challenge, but I was able to graduate and run for office successfully, and here I am.
Any plans on going for a PhD?
I'm thinking about law school. honestly. I'm thinking about serving in a legal capacity. I recognize a lot of my colleagues have other affiliations and other legal professional degrees, and I'm really thinking about law school. I think it would allow me to balance out some of my strengths and also serve to allow me to learn more.
Okay. Now, what about job creation? Any ideas on job creation in your district?
Absolutely. I mean, being in the Bronx and serving Bronx County, there are major challenges in our borough. At one time, the Bronx had 13% unemployment rate. And what we're seeing in the Bronx is a growing population of residents and families of all backgrounds that are coming into our borough. We are seeing a major push for development. I represent the Gateway Mall, which formerly was the Bronx Terminal Market, 1 million square feet of commercial retail. What I have tried to do in my position as a legislator is support projects that really reflect the neighborhood, that really serve the residents that are there. We often hear in the Bronx that many Bronx residents are not qualified, and that simply is not true. If we are asked to support projects, we want to make sure that there are jobs and there's a local component for residents in our neighborhood. If you're coming to the Bronx, you should consider hiring our Bronx residents. So whether it's union employment, whether it's housing, commercial, we want apprenticeship programs because we recognize that young people need to learn trades and build skills so they can have those careers. So I know in my position, I'm making sure that I support projects that bring growth and development and serve to strengthen and build the community.
Now, you mentioned the word housing. That was my next question. What about the lack of affordable housing in your district?
Always a challenge. I think one of the things that government must be cognizant of is when you look at housing, it's a constantly evolving process. Housing for seniors is very important because many seniors are being priced out. They're on fixed incomes. We have had a major boom and a shift of Mitchell-Lama developments that have now exited out of the program because the program has been exhausted. Those programs are pretty much wiped out. Rent stabilization really fills a lot of the housing we have, and I believe that there is a component that's missing. Besides senior housing, housing for middle-income families and residents. So people like me that are single with no children, I don't qualify for low-income housing, and market value is too high for me. So many people in my situation fall right in the middle, and I believe that as government, state and city, we need to come together and develop a mechanism by which we can promote more development through incentives and tax credits, as we do for housing for those that live with mental illnesses, those that are coming from shelters, formerly domestic violence, those that are aging out of foster care. We have a number of challenges that are affecting families all across our city, but I think if we focused on incentives, that would drive a lot of the development so that you would see that there would be more housing that's affordable. That word is often used very loosely. Affordable is not affordable to everyone. It's only affordable to some people.
You've been listening to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237 Teamsters. My very special guest, Vanessa Gibson, Assemblywoman, Assembly District 77 of the Bronx. Thank you once again.
Thank you.